All right, folks, I think we're on to our third speaker. And remember, if you have some follow-up questions, you can always hunt our speakers down at the end of the event and crowd them in a corner and ask. No, don't do that. That's not awesome. So the next speaker is Holly Knowlman. And Holly, come on up. A few things about Holly. Holly recently returned from a trip to Mumbai. Holly is left-handed. Uh-huh. And she is obsessed with notebooks. I'm sure she's going to tell us much more about that. Holly?
That's actually the topic of my talk. It's how much I love very specific A5 lined notebooks. No, that's not what I'm talking about. First up, can we get a round of applause for Marsha and her team for putting on such a wonderful event? I think it's so cool that this is happening in Toronto. I've been aware of the series for a little bit. It's really, really cool to see it happening here, and I hope for many more in the future. So, hi everybody, my name is Holly, and I'm a failure, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about a very specific and beautiful failure from a couple of years back called Stupid Magazine. So Stupid Magazine Corporation is my second business, my first corporation. I was an independent contractor back in the UK. And I, going back 2 years, was really at a point in my life where, having always been entrepreneurial and always been passionate about building things and getting some real joy of the experience of creating something out of nothing, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I want to start a business. I was not ready, just so you know, but I thought I was. I was at a really good position. I had a super supportive employer. They were like, yep, you can go part-time. Keep checking in, we know what's going on, but we're happy to give you the space to pursue this dream. And I was considering going back to school. I think that's something that a lot of people in the room probably think about as well. I have an undergrad degree, so I'm somewhat educated, not super educated, and I was like, okay, would it make sense to do a master's, an MBA, something like that? And then I was like, you know what, I think this is gonna be way cheaper. Even if it goes nowhere, I looked at the price and I was like, you know what, I could start a business and tank it wildly, and I would still come out further ahead than doing an MBA, especially in North America. Oh my God, they screw you so bad here. I'm really sorry. It's so expensive. So that's kind of the why. And Stupid Magazine Corporation was a business built around a print product. So I believe that print isn't dead. I didn't just imagine this. There's data to support that. We see some thriving businesses, particularly in the book section and in niche publications. And so the niche publication piece was where I kind of wanted to play. I was looking at publications like Wax, which is urban surfing for designers, and Serial, which is travel for minimalists. And I was like, okay, pop music for technologists. I can go super niche. This is going to be a thing. I wanted to make something physical. I've been working on the web as a community manager, working in software for a number of years, and the idea of creating a physical product and bringing something to market was super compelling to me. And so here's just a few of the production shots, some of the experiences of making it happen. We had a successful Kickstarter campaign, small compared to some people, no names, but successful. We hit our goal. I was making sales. We published a magazine, which is really quite hard to do. I didn't know at the time, but the process of creating and producing, people were on board. We were paying creators, which is super inspiring. That made me really happy to be able to say, hey, I'm going to make a thing, and the artists and the illustrators and the designers and the people throwing the events are all going to get paid fairly and equitably for this thing. That felt really, really good, and people were behind it. The vibe was awesome, and it felt like everything was going great until it wasn't. And so I think when people talk about entrepreneurship, you hear about the highs a lot and you hear about the successes. And so this was my very particular low in the course of the business. And I didn't know it at the time, but this was really when it was over. I don't know if anybody in the room has ever gone a little bit crazy. I'm not going to make you put your hands up. This is a pretty personal topic, but that's what happened to me. Don't laugh, it was bad. You in the corner being like, haha, she went off her nut. Okay, but seriously though, at the time, I didn't know this, but apparently disruptive disorder is a thing. It's when too much is going on in your world, you're doing too much, and your brain's just like, fucking stop, mate, you can't do this anymore. This is not all right. And so I stopped sleeping. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. And if anybody's ever stayed up for a really long time, for whatever reason, no judgment, you'll know that by the end you start feeling pretty sketchy. And so by night 3, Middle of the night, I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's the middle of the night. I should go to CAMH. Didn't have a doctor at the time, relatively new to Canada, was kind of flying by the seat of my pants as far as like being sensible about my medical profile was concerned. So I was like, okay, that's mental health. That's where you go if you just need some Valium and you want to go to sleep. They'll hook me up, and I can go back to bed and do it all again tomorrow. Just so you know, that is not what happens if you go to CAMH in the middle of the night and they don't know who you are. They actually take all of your shit away from you. They take everything away from you, and they put you in a waiting room that's locked. You can't speak to anybody. You can't call anybody. And you're just there waiting. And so I'm in the waiting room, and I haven't slept for 2 nights. And I'm out of my mind at this point. I just want to sleep. I'm so upset. And the guy that's in the waiting room with me is angry and kind of off his face, and he's banging on the nurse's door, and he's being aggressive. He takes all the tissues out of the tissue box and puts the tissue box over the security camera in the room. And I'm like, what is going on? Just like hiding in my coat, just being like, please just make it stop. And so this goes on for 4 hours. I'm there for 4 hours. It's now like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't know. And the doctor sits me down, he's like, no, I can't give you anything. You don't have a doctor, you should just go home. I was like, I cried with the doctor. I didn't know what to do. Like, it's very, very upsetting and frustrating when you're like, hey, I need some help, and I think you have something that can help me, and they're like, nope, you're on your own here. Here's a number you can call in the morning. So I went home and somehow made it through the night, and the next day I found my doctor. I got the support I needed. I have a much better relationship with my mental health now as a result of that, but that was really, from a business perspective, the time when I should have said no. That's the time that I should have quit. It went on for a few more months after that. Oh, I put my clicker down. There we go. But shit happens. This is the thing about building businesses, about doing anything, whether it's something creative or whether you're working with a team. Things fail, organizations fail. Marsha put the stat out at the beginning of the night that was like 95% of this is not going anywhere. Sorry. But with a bit of distance and a bit of like healing and some time to kind of get back to myself, it's really given me a good framework for thinking about failure. So you maybe heard these terms before, the idea of the macro, the meso, the micro. Micro's the little bit, meso's medium size, macro is the great big thing. And so it kind of has been useful to me as a way of understanding failure and thinking about a framework for failure. So many different things happen through the course of building a business, but failure can kind of fit into these 3 buckets, I think, with the micro being you, the meso being your business, the choices that you're making, the market you're pursuing, the people you're hiring, and the macro being the shit that's going on in the world around you that you really don't have any control over at all. And so in the case of Stupid Magazine, shocking that Stupid Magazine failed, by the way, with a name like that. It's wild. So the micro I kind of talked a little bit about already, like my own health wasn't at a good enough point. I wasn't strong enough to be able to do it. The meso bit, too much effort for not enough reward. Like, I think we could have ground it out for a second issue, raise some more sponsorship, but the amount of effort we were all putting in, the amount of time we had to spend to get something out the other side, to build something truly sustainable where it wasn't just profitable, but also able to pay all of these people the way that I wanted to pay them, just wasn't there. The model just wasn't there. And then at the macro level, whilst all this was happening, some pretty big shit went down in the world. So I'm from the UK originally. Brexit happened. Like half the people in my country were like, oh, we don't like playing with other people. We want to like hang out on our own. And wankers. And then Trump got elected. And so these big political shifts were happening. And the world has always been a pretty unstable place. But the world, the piece that I had in it at that point felt particularly unstable. And I was like, is this really a good use, A, of my energy, but B, for my customers, for my readers, do I really want to be taking up that much of people's attention, thinking about pop music when shit like this is going on? So what would I do differently? So if I had a time machine, if I was going to go back and say to the Holly from a few years back, hey, I've got one thing that I can tell you. I've only got 30 seconds before my time machine blows up. And then I've got to go kill Hitler. because that's what you do. That's the rules if you can travel in time. I would have worked with a publishing partner. Like, that's the one big structural change that I would have made. I would have worked with an established publishing house to bring the product to market. But I don't think you can go back in time, at least not yet. But from a do differently, next business, next go around. Better problem. I want to pick a bigger problem to solve. So like something big, immutable, that's not going anywhere. And I have no plans to start an actual business right now, but I have an imaginary business, and it's the bloody awful tampon company, because people are always going to need tampons. It's not going anywhere. Always going to need that, always a problem. Every month I'm like, yes, this is a problem that I am having, and so is half of the world. Pretty much, right? Like something that's immutable, something that's not going anywhere. And next time around, like I would do it with more of a team. Like I need a co-founder. Like I understand my strengths better from a process of going through this. And there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of like joy that your ego gets from being like, yes, I am in charge of this thing. And like I get to make all of the decisions. But ultimately for me, like I know people can do it. It's not impossible. I want a co-founder. I want somebody that's like ops, finance, someone sensible, someone like deeply sensible that can can balance me out. Like I know my strengths, so like I should find somebody that's as strong at the things I'm weak at. I lost my train of thought and I can't explain that properly, but like you get where I'm driving at with this thing. So those are the things that I would do differently. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the amount of care that you have to take of yourself in order to be able to do this thing every single day. But ultimately, the biggest lesson I learned was pacing. I put so much energy and so much passion into that upfront section, into that phase 1 piece, that by the time phase 2 rolled around, I was done and I couldn't do it anymore. Thank you for listening.
Nicely done. So, questions, anybody?
So I definitely hear you out in terms of trying to pace yourself and not be stressed, because they'll definitely get to you, and I love my naturopath. But what do you do now in terms of maintaining that sanity? Like do you have some sort of ritual that you do weekly or daily? What do you do?
So I'm back working full-time with a team now. I'm really relishing that being a piece of a bigger mission. It's a lot saner, which I think. But in terms of establishing that sanity, I'm working really hard on building that consistent routine. Like I know how much is healthy for me to be working in a day. I know that a really good day for me involves a walk by the lake and some really healthy food and proper breaks between the things that I'm doing. And I don't do that every day, but I'm trying to do that every day. And I think until I can do that and I have that natural trained thinking around routine, I can't do this again.
Thank you.
What would you say to someone who's scared of fucking up for that exact reason, of taking on too much or maybe it being too much for them?
I would say that the only way I really found out about my limits was by going there. It wasn't fun, and I wish that I had prepared better and had more of an understanding of my own kind of signals of burnout and taking on too much, more of a parachute, more of a way to put my hands up and say no. But at the same time, I don't regret fucking anything. I'm so happy that I did it. And I learned so much and I've built so much resilience from doing that. And yeah, if you can avoid going to that extreme, I do recommend not going quite that far. But at the same time, you won't know how to manage that until you try.
Thank you.
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
So my only question is, when you're ready to solve that tampon problem, can you call me?
100%.
Wicked.
Yes, I will call you.
Hi, Holly. I just wanted to learn about, you mentioned all this ordeal that you went to where you had the breakdown, basically. And then I just wanted to know, what happened that made you change your perspective and, just grow and get out of that hole that you went into?
I don't know if it was a change of perspective. I think just time went on, I got healthier, had an opportunity to go back into a job and work on a bigger problem. And I think it honestly, like, it took me about a year to even be like, okay, this is done and I feel okay with it and this is what I learned. I kind of just like went pretty off the grid. I was pretty quiet for like a while. Like, that's definitely something that I learned, was that a business failure is something that you need to give yourself emotional time to recover from. It was something that I took away from that experience, but like, the sun's gonna keep coming up like every day. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to just keep going.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Hey, Ollie. So when you came back from all that, when you realized that you had to sort of close down the business, how did you approach going back to all the people who had depended on you, who had sort of helped contribute to that first issue? What was the process of going through that? How did you manage it? How did you feel about it? That sort of stuff.
I felt really guilty, actually. And there's still, like, I owe some people some lunches, and there's some, like, closing of those emotional loops that need to happen, I think. I think that feeling guilty is a really misplaced emotion. Like, I think that people make the best of what they can do at the time. And it's not an emotion that I had experienced like that often before. Like, I generally just try and get on with it. I felt guilty at the end of this. And I think from a pure like customer communication standpoint, there's still loose ends there. And from a tax standpoint, there's still like loose ends there. Like, just because it's emotionally done and like I've said that it's done, is it perfect? Is it all like tied up in like a nice bow? No. And yeah, like there will still be, like, I'll probably send an email with this talk YouTube clip to the mailing list and be like, do you want to know like what really happened and why you haven't heard from me for a bit? This is it. Stay on the mailing list if you want to hear about the next thing. Yes. Sorry. I hope you forgive me. But also, do you know what I mean? Kickstarters come with risk. Like, people don't back things with 100% like, yes, I am fully committed to this. It failed and like that shit happens, you know?
Thanks.
Hey, Holly.
Hi.
So I think this is a little bit of a wordy one, so I'll try to compose it all together. But I think, something I face and I hear a lot of times is when you find your passion, or where you find something that, you want to put your soul into, you just hustle. You're go, 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 go. And obviously you reach a point where you burn out. How do you find comfort in pushing back and saying, you know what, this opportunity is great. This definitely, takes it in a new direction, but for you as a person, you'll burn out again. How do you kind of balance those two? Because of course you want to go for every opportunity because you think it might not come up again. And I guess finding comfort in the discomfort is really what I'm asking.
So the question is, how do you find comfort in pursuing something that you know is gonna hurt you?
Not so much that, but if there's an opportunity and you're kind of at your end's limit, but you know that this is something that you feel, okay, I can go for it. But you also want to balance your health. You want to balance your mental, stability and things like that. How do you find comfort in passing up an opportunity, even though it's part of your hustle?
Oh, so how do you get comfortable with saying no, even when it kind of fits into where you want to go? I mean, for me, it's honestly been a case of building some hard and fast rules with myself and being yes, you want to do this and you want to do everything. I'm easily distracted. You're okay, you want to chase those things, but to just be no, you're not allowed. You have to ban yourself from certain things, and I think different tactics will work for different people. Everybody has a different mentality and a different approach. For me, it's being firm with myself about my limits, but also loving, being a better parent to my inner child. That's super cheesy, but that's helped. It's been good for me.
Awesome, thank you.
Any more questions from the audience? I think we have time for one more, if anybody's brave. Oh, we have one.
I went to take a pee during one of the questions, so I hope it wasn't asked already. But what was the difference between your
I'll
phase
answer it again,
one and
it's
phase?
okay.
What was the difference between your phase one and phase two?
Issue
Oh, okay,
release
that's kinda what I
cycles
thought.
of the product.
Then I didn't miss the question. That's perfect. Thank
That
you
was
so
short and
much.
sweet. Yeah, for phase from prototype issue 1 through to issue 2, building more distribution channels.
I kind of thought you meant from going from phase one of we're a magazine, then we're going to go to a YouTube channel. channel, then we're going to be swimwear, then we're going to go into...
Okay. So like the ultimate goal, the ultimate thesis was that if this worked for Stupid and I could build a niche publication around pop music for tech, that you could repeat that cycle with different niches for different products. So you could do like dog walking for VCs or whatever. Like once you had the like production process and like the audience balances figured out, you could pursue the same kind of model in different industries and build like a niche publishing house. That was the dream, the ultimate goal.
Excellent. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
That was brilliant. Nicely done. Thank you. So, speaking of going back in time, you know when you're on Facebook or something and somebody posts